Hello everyone, my name is Nick and I am the mentor at Studio NPL that's going to be leading you on your STEAM expeditions trip through 3D design. And I'm going to give you just a super quick overview of the software that we're going to be using in the field trip called Tinkercad, which is free and available at tinkercad.com. You can start your own account, or if your teacher has set you up with a classroom, you can join your classroom. So here I am in the Tinkercad once I've logged in. Um, this is where I can see my old designs, but I can also create a new design. So that's the first step that we're going to do is create a new design, and sometimes that takes a little bit of a second to load up, so we just have to be nice and patient. Yeah. Here we have our build plane. This is this blue thing that you see in front of you. Think of it as your tabletop or like a piece of paper that you're going to draw on top of, except instead of drawing in two-dimensional format, we'll be building things out of shapes in three-dimensional formats for our 3D design. Up here on the left, you'll see our view cube. I can press front, and now I'm looking at it as though I was kind of kneeling down right in front of the table, so I'm just kind of looking at it that way. I can hit top. Now I'm looking at it almost like it's a piece of paper, like bird's eye view. I can use these little arrows to go around the right side, the back side. I can even look underneath it, which is valuable to do sometimes if you need to make sure that your drawing or your design is on your build plane. If I get all kind of messed up here, I can spin it around my hand too. Woo! If you get messed up, you can press this home screen, and that'll kind of take you back. I can also use the plus button here to zoom in, and the plus button to zoom out, or you can use your mouse to zoom in or zoom out if you like. And that's basically what we're going to show you there for the view cube. Now over here on the right, so this is the where we have all of our different shapes that we're going to be building with. These are the panels here. So right now we have a basic shapes panel. We have a text and numbers panel. I'll move my mouse so you can see. So here's where you get your different letters and numbers, etc. We have our connectors. These are like little hinges, balls, sockets, that kind of thing that people have made and contributed. And there's shape generators, which you're going to use in the field trip. So I'm going to show you the featured shape generators, softbox spring, nuts and bolts, spinners, different ways of doing text. In our field trip, we're going to be using this adjustable box, so just remember where that is there, and we'll look at that later. We're going to go back to basic shapes here. And this is where we'll take things and drag them, boom, to our workplace, and that's what we have our start now. So I've just moved a box or a cube, so we have a square, but when it's in 3 dimensions, it's a cube or a box. And we'll zoom in kind of nice and tight on that so we can see it. So here's our basic shapes, right? You can see I'm clicking and dragging it with the mouse, and I want you to try doing that to move it all around. Little numbers are appearing. They're showing us the sizes and where you're moving them. And on the box, on any shape, I'm going to delete the box and I'm going to grab a different shape. I'm going to grab a cylinder, which is just like a circle, but it's extruded into 3 dimensions. See, circle underneath 3 dimensions. Little white cubes here will help you stretch and move things and resize things. You'll see here we're at 10 millimeters, and I can either stretch and move that to say 20 millimeters, or I can type in 20 millimeters. Now it's 20 millimeters. I can do that to the corners as well, so you'll see it's 20 millimeters by 20 millimeters. Let's say I want it to be 50 by 50, or heck, let's change it. Let's say by 30. And then now we've got kind of a cylinder with kind of a fun shape. So grab a shape and practice clicking the white boxes and moving them around, changing the sizes, and typing in different millimeter size. Let's say this is 36 millimeters tall. There you go. Now up here at the top, you'll see a little cone, little black cone. That helps us move things up and down. So now you'll see it's kind of floating up in the air, or we can make it go down. And that's important when you're combining shapes. Now I've made it gone too far, so if we look underneath, you'll see it's sticking out the bottom. For the sake of our 3D design, we don't want things sticking out the bottom, so we're going to just raise that back up. One thing we can also do is press the shape and then press D on the keyboard, and that'll drop it down so it's level with the build plate. You'll see I just did that. And that's our shape there. We can move that around, make it big. I can even make it a hole by pressing that hole button, and I'll show you more about that here in just a second. I'm going to show you another trick here. This is the Scribble tool. I'm going to place a scribble down, and now that's going to open up almost a little drawing pad. For our exercise, we're going to be making a castle in our 3D design field trip. So for now, let's just pretend that I'm going to kind of sketch out real rough sketch, as you can see. It takes a little while to get used to how your mouse works in this program. We're going to kind of sketch out a little two-dimensional castle. And then let's do our little door. And that's good enough, although if I don't like something, I can use this eraser tool to kind of erase it. There we go. And I'll press done, and then there I have it, a little two-dimensional castle, but if I look at it from the side, I can actually extrude this shape, which means I expand it to make it into a three-dimensional item. You see that? So that Scribble Tool is kind of a fun way to make custom shapes. I'm going to press my little home button here again, and I'm going to show you the text tool. I'm going to click, place the text tool down here, and then I can type, my name is Nick, so I'm going to type in, it takes a second here, Nick, and there we go. I can make that taller, I can stretch it out, I can bevel it, or I can use these tools here, as you saw before, to make it up and down. I can move it around, or I can use the arrow keys on my keyboard to move things to the left, to move things down, and these are important keys to use when you're really trying to get things just set up just right, like that. And one other thing I'm going to show you here, and you're going to need this as well going into the future. I'm going to take a box, I'm going to place it down, I'm going to stretch it out and make it big. I'm going to change the color here just so it's easier to work with for me, easier to see. Make it a little bit flatter. I'm going to take my name. Remember I said this little cone on the side will help us move it up. I'm going to move it up. I'm going to change my view, move it back. I'm using my arrow keys on my keyboard to kind of tap it into place. And there we go. Now it's in place. I'm going to drop it down, and I'm going to turn it into a hole by pressing that hole button. I'm going to just click anywhere and kind of drag my mouse out, drag a big red box around it, press this button here. This is your group tool. You can also do Control G on your keyboard, and that's going to group it. And what that's done, you can kind of see, is that's carved out my name from the piece. So if you want to make if you want to carve something out, you use that tool. You use something, you turn it into a hole, and then you group it. And you're going to need to know how to do that for the field trip. So please practice with that. Let's just get rid of that. Go back to my home button here. And now let's say I've made a design. Okay, I'm going to just make a real quick thing here. I'm going to take a box. I'm going to take a sphere. I'm going to look at it from the side, raise my sphere up, go back here, and intersect the two. And I'm going to use that hole button again. Press hole. I'm going to group them. And you'll see I've kind of carved that out, so that's great. So this is my little practice design, okay? And then I'm going to rename it. I'm going to click up here and type Nick underscore. That's a little line. It's next to the 0. If you look at your numbers at the top of your keyboard, you see 890, and then you see a line. So hit Shift and then press that line button to get that underscore. I'm going to say Nick, and I'm going to say this is a little, I don't know, modern art chair. So I'm going to say modern chair. Press enter, and now my design has a name so that I can find it easier, or if I want to share it later, I can find it easier, or if my teacher wants to see it, they can see it nice and easy there. So there I am. So not the best design here, but you'll see that this is a good way to get started. So please get into Tinkercad, play with the shapes. Look at that, there's even some hearts, stars. Experiment with moving things around. Experiment with this cone that moves things up and down, because that's something we're going to need to use for the thing. And remember, this is just like drawing, but instead of using circles and squares and triangles, you're going to use things like boxes and spheres and cylinders and pyramids and all these three-dimensional shapes, so you get to practice working with using sort of geometry in your art. So that's not exactly the best combination there, but you'll see. So have some fun, play with your shapes, move your new characters here, and have a little fun experimenting with Tinkercad. Please practice naming something in Tinkercad up here. And let's just say one other thing I'll show you here. Say I put my sphere here. Say I'm all done, but I accidentally put something here, and I didn't want that, I can also press this back arrow here to undo that. Okay. And then what's great about this is it all saves automatically, so I can exit out of this and come back to it later, and it will still be there. Or now in your STEAM Expeditions trip with Studio NPL, you'll be designing your very own castle using Tinkercad and some of the tips and tricks you learned today. I'm looking forward to working with you.